forward to this computer.
Recorded.
So I guess we'll go ahead and start. Coffee at the close, but as Jose knows, this is now mate de coca, which is very popular here in Peru, made from the coca leaf for other needs that are maybe not as well intentioned. But this is actually really common here for energy, for chewing on what is it, Jose? Chewing on the leaves, right?
Yeah, that's that's correct. Yes.
Um, so I noticed the portfolio hit again all-time highs to close out Friday. I'm guessing most of you guys are riding pretty high right now too.
It's been good.
Yes.
Yeah, good.
Glad to hear it. Uh, I guess a first topic might be how you're feeling about going into how you feel about going into 2026. There was a stat news article. I'm going to try to bring it up so I can read the specifics that made me quite optimistic. Of course, we'll say cautiously optimistic. It says biotech is growing up. And what the Cliff Note says, I said this might be a perfect setup for a core biotech strategy, or the sheep, as Tom calls them, from 2026 to 2030 and beyond. The old view being that the biotech sector never attracts generalist investors because it's full of risky development companies that lose a lot of money. So, when these people see a lot of, stocks lose 90% of their value, nobody wants anything to do with that. So they stay away from the sector. And the new view is that development stage biotechs, this was from Adam Furstein, they are maturing, they're winning drug approvals, independent commercial launches. We think of Syndax and Nuvation Bio in the portfolio. The sector is turning profitable and reaching an inflection point that generalist investors will notice. You guys might remember one thing I liked about investing in companies in these launches is that generalist investors, like the growth investing crowd, they get attracted to biotech once the binary risk is not gone, but it's lessened. It becomes all about sales growth. We're going to the group is set to lose 900 million next year, but in 2027 they're set to earn 4.8 billion, profit to reach nearly 40 billion in 2030. And lastly, Cantor analysts estimate that 40% of biotechs in the XBI right now have approved drugs, 40%, and another 15% are likely to secure first drug approvals within the next 12 months. So you can see why, for the core biotech strategy, that makes me particularly optimistic, cautious, but optimistic, just because that's our hunting ground for new ideas. As Tom knows, we like our sheep.
Sheep are good, especially black ones. Black sheep are cheaper.
Black sheep are cheaper, huh? I saw some people followed you into speaking of black sheep, KPTI, Carrio Farm. That's been running nicely.
Looking good so far. I think we've had a little bit of tide going in and out with year-end selling. Anybody that was in it at 9 or 10 and isn't excited about the March card flip or doesn't know about it is maybe looking at it and saying, "Hey, this is a good one to take my losses and get out." And I think that pushed it down a little bit. But today it was pretty hot, and I would hope that when we get to January 1, we'll see it come out of the gate with some new players coming in and getting excited about March.
Refresh me. Did you have a predetermined exit point? I know you said you were looking for a run up. Is there a point at which you would exit?
Well, I want to. I mean, it's it's a tough question. There's a point that I would exit when I get spooked, which wouldn't be necessarily a numerical number. I mean, take Omer as an example. I cut that down today just because the price action has been soft. I would have expected, if there was more confidence going into a PDUFA a week from now or 8 days or whatever it is, that we'd see a little more running, because I think potentially there's big bait there. I mean, if Omer gets an approval, they're probably worth more like $20 a share than the current 9. But it's not moving, and so when you say what would cause me to exit, if I see a lot of people spooked, that might be an indicator. If I purely look at it numerically, quite honestly, I think KPTI has the potential of 300% between now and March, and it'll still be cheap. And that's what to me is very exciting about it. I mean, it's basically $100 million market cap that's already got 140 million in revenue, and they're going to do a card flip on what everybody thinks is $1 billion indication. And so, you say, what's $1 billion worth on top of 140 million with an already approved drug? And, to
Yeah.
me, if it's a successful card flip, it it should fly. But I
Mhm.
think just the momentum up to the card flip from where we're at, I'm thinking 200-300 million in market cap before they get to the card flip. But
Quick question, just for a caveat, didn't they have a pretty dilutive offering recently? Wouldn't that mean it's actually a lot larger market cap or valuation when it's fully diluted?
um,
I'm not following it. I'm just curious, just to.
well, they did dilution.
Mhm.
They did a capital raise. They did kind of a complicated all around restructuring. If I'm not getting my wires crossed with somebody else, but I think KPTI did a kind of a what I'd call a resourceful capital raise, and there was a dilution component, and but they solved a lot of problems with it, and they dropped down to 475 or something, which is when I loaded my first tranche. So I mean, I'm up about 60-70% on that buy
Okay.
just from where we are.
So
But I think
you're
it's
already sitting well. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, it's a happy camper. I would, but I think you look at the market cap and you look at the revenue and you look at the potential, and coming alongside of Jacaffe, which is a $3 billion drug, and pretty much dominates the MF sector. I I envision that it would, if they show the kind of data they hope to show, which I think is highly likely, which adds to the momentum story. I
Hmm.
don't, all of these pluses are not arguments necessarily in holding it for the card flip. I see them as arguments for investors to get excited before the card flip and to drive the price up.
Okay,
So
I love it. I think it was Howard Marks who you're talking about a lot of his stuff where it's trading the emotions of others. So you're not necessarily betting on the data, you're betting on other people starting to push it up into the data.
yeah, I mean every pot's got to have a flame under it to boil, and I'm betting on the flame.
I remember why I was asking you about exit points. Fold, Amicus Therapeutics was bought today by BioMarin, pretty logical purchase because they're both rare disease players. Something like a 33% premium. And as you guys know, maybe 7 trading days ago, I sold Fold for a 60% gain, but I missed that final buyout. And I remembered maybe a win for me is that I wasn't as hard on myself as I normally am on missing out on that move. Uh, the point being that quite a few people in chat have kind of reiterated to me, hindsight capital is 2020, and not only that, that you're trying to catch the meat of the move. Sometimes you won't catch the tail end. Like this time in Amicus, I already sold it. Um, or it makes me think of Jose, where a stock might have already run up a good bit, but if it's at the right valuation where he still thinks it's attractive, he doesn't worry about what happened before. It's all about the present snapshot. And so, in a different way, we're all trying to catch the meat of the move and not worrying if we catch tops or bottoms or have the perfect entry or the perfect exit. That sounds about right, Jose.
That's correct. Yes.
Well,
Yes.
the other side, Jonathan, you made a comment about one of the hindsight 2020 comments and elaborated on the alternative could have happened with either wave or fold, and for some reason old sayings kind of stick in my head. But I worked with a guy once who used the term, "You can break into jail," and I think that hanging on for the final you can break into jail. You think you're doing the right thing, and hindsight's 2020, but a lot of them don't work that way. And you sit there going, why didn't I get out while I could have?
I like it. I like it. I'm seeing, before I forget, quite a few of other veterans as far as other names. Bill Powers, welcome. I see Steven, I see Wasim, a few names I don't know, like Paul, Steve. So, Mahmood, thank you for joining us again. I see Jack, or otherwise known as Osmium. So, just everybody feel free to, butt in whenever you want as we're talking things. This is open floor for everybody. Um, Before I forget, while we're going into it, November, I had no DCA purchases, dollar cost average, throwing new dollars in my portfolio at names, just travel expenses. I didn't have new money to deploy. But you might have seen in chat, it was either yesterday or was it today that yesterday that I made my first deposit of new dollars and deploying them into existing holdings. And the idea right now is we were seeing a little bit of a pullback in the biotech sector, and I was hoping that pullback would continue. I think Jose said it also in chat, just names he's looking to add to as the sector pulls back a little bit. It looks like that's not the case to close out the day, though.
So, Jonathan, so I was actually in November, late November, I was reducing my biotech
I remember
portfolio quite significantly. And because we were pretty much riding high and everybody was cheerleading and everything high-fiving, etc., we were pretty close to start sharing portfolios like people in tech or meme stocks start doing, right? Like, okay,
everybody
this is
sharing
not the right
their year
time.
to date. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, this is not the right time to continue. So I pull back. And well, this first 2 weeks of December, so December for me is not good. Not so compared to November, which was a great month. I don't talk about October because it was abnormal. But November was a great month, and December not good. But I was less invested. This last week we had a good pullback in many names for no reason, and many good quality names, and that was perhaps a good time to start getting back into some of them. And today, it's just a reflection of that, right? So the biotech market is still in an uptrend, and from time to time there will be pullbacks that, as I'm seeing, they are healthy,
Mhm.
right? Valuations are still fine. Stocks that I'm adding, I really like the valuations I'm still getting.
Okay.
But I prefer not to chase. That's why.
Yeah, I remember seeing in Real Time Trades channel, I forget which names, but you had a few you were adding to either today or
Yes.
yesterday.
Yes. I was adding 2 days ago to one of my top positions, Apogee, APGE, and I was adding it at 75. And it was like, still like, okay, why is it about 5 billion, 6 billion market cap? Well, because it's for me, it's a best in class hypothesis, and if it plays out, it's um, I would expect multiples of that investment at the end of the year.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm hearing myself as echo.
Yeah, we hear you a little bit. It's all right. I think
That's
it's me too. It's all of us.
okay. All
We
right.
just have to. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
little annoying, but
Yeah, I think
uh,
it's Jack. If you can mute yourself.
is that doing it better? No, it's still going on. It's still going on. Is there Wasim, you're the tech guy. What else should I be doing?
I mean, you should mute everyone except those who are speaking.
Okay, mute everybody, huh? Um, let's see if everybody is. That's the first time we've had that happen. Hmm. Is that better? I think it might have gotten it.
Yes.
That
There we
seems
go. I
better.
think it was Jack's. Yeah. Um, I was gonna unmute Osmium just because profound PROF Osmium, Jack. That was one that he likes. and they just had a $36 million financing today, and people know we've been stalking that one for a while in playbooks and chat. Um, I've had, I think you guys know, on average, I try to trade only 2 to 4 days per month. And some people might not like that because they say that's too little. But the problem for me is when I overtrade is usually when I dig a deeper hole. I'm either trying to make the losses back or I'm getting too overconfident. Like Jose said, we've had a hot streak lately. Everybody's riding high, sharing their year-to-date gains. And the problem is, if you try to accelerate that, you try to trade more and more. So right now, one of my issues is I'm having to pull myself back from just pulling the trigger on new setups. So not only Profound, there's a number of other ones you guys seen we've been talking about in chat. So that's kind of my encouragement to everybody too, is, you don't have to do something just for the sake of doing it. Like Jose said, wait for the valuations that are attractive to you. You might see a new entry or two from me before the end of the month, but I am trying to hold myself back. Uh, Before I forget, Wasim, you said that you had a pretty good year, but there was one stock, one company that
Yeah.
ate a lot of your gains. We could all
Yeah.
learn from
So
that.
yeah, I'll jump in here. I'm still at work, just taking a break
Mm.
here to join you guys. Some of us have a full-time jobs. So
I can
um
relate.
yeah, it's my first year in this community, and frankly, I've learned tons from each one of you, different perspectives, different styles. There's no perfect style of investing, as you all know. Each person has its own. So thanks to everyone, especially to those who are always commenting, adding their thoughts on the different tickers. Thank you. Thanks, John, as well. I've had the chance to meet him. Um, 3 weeks ago, and I have to say he's nicer in person than online. So great person to be around. Very funny as well.
Uh,
Um, my yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying that was funny how that worked out. I was in Costa Rica at the time, and Wasim, I think you were headed to Colombia, and you said, "Oh, you're going to be in Panama." And he said, "Oh, I can go there." And so next thing you know, he arrived in Panama, and that was fun. That was a good time.
Yeah, great meeting you. So yeah, my biggest loss this year has been Moon Lake, and it was totally my fault. I did my research. The valuation was very high. It had asymmetrical risk to the downside. So I still went in with almost a 20% portfolio weighting, and I lost like 80% of it. It was hard to deal with that, but well, I've learned my lesson. I'm not doing it again. And as Tom says, I should take profits while I can.
Well,
I,
not
I
only
was
that, but
afraid.
go ahead. Go ahead, Tom.
I was afraid, Wasim, you were going to say that was the one you learned from me.
No, no. I got a great one. Fortress Bio, F Bio was one I followed you in, so that was great. And now towards the end of the year, I'm following Jose on Idea, IDYA, which they have UVO melanoma, um, a catalyst for the first half, and there's also I'm still digging into it. MAT2A, which is a gene. So they're, they're working on an inhibitor, and that time is way larger than the uveal melanoma because it covers bladder cancer as well as non-small, some types of non-small lung cancer. So I'm really looking forward to those readouts.
Before I forget, going back to the what you said about the 20% portfolio weighting, going Leroy Jenkins into Moon Lake. Um, like you should feel, from my end at least, don't feel alone. Like that's, if anything, you went into it with only 20% portfolio weighting, whereas I remember when I started out in biotech so many times where I went into phase three readouts with the majority of my portfolio. And you wake up to luckily a 50% haircut as opposed to 90%. But I'm a slow learner. I'm stubborn, so it took me a long time. Like people now, they always comment about how disciplined I am, and I'm like, I have to make up with discipline what I lack in knowledge, which is a lot, and all the discipline came from all the bad mistakes. So I'm curious if you would change your maximum portfolio weighting or your position sizing in the future.
Yeah, I think that's my task for
Mhm.
my goal for next year is position sizing and risk management, which
Mhm.
sometimes we think that the most important thing is just to uh, get the odds on your side, but what if the odds are not, right? Well, what is
Mhm.
the downside? So that's my goal for next year. Hopefully, have smaller losses and more frequent wins.
Oh, I love it. And like you said, that's personally my biggest weakness is that I'll have a hot streak and then I'll give my gains back to the market. So this year I don't feel like I've really had any big winners, but it's just been a lot of singles and doubles adding up and without the bigger losses of giving the gains back to the market. So that's kind of been an eye opener for me, versus we had some really big buyouts the prior 2 years in the portfolio. This year, there's not really a lot of names that stand out to me. It's just been the gains compounding, if that makes sense.
It's
Um,
easy to want to swing for the fence, and you have these conversations with yourself, where whether you've bought a new Lamborghini or a yacht or a new house, or you're spending all of this money from your presumptive gains, and you kind of need to step back from that mentality and to Wasim's point, and basically say what can go wrong. I mean, if you take all of this in one word, I think I've summarized it as trying to be more unstupid. And and as I've written, I think unstupid is different than being smart. Being smart kind of comes with an arrogance and a swagger, and I know what I'm doing, and I'm going to get it right, and I'm going to hit the home run. I mean, all of that's being smart. Being unstupid just means, don't if there's a cow pie in the road, don't step in it. You don't need to do that, and it's kind of a different mentality to play the game with. I mean, like Omer is an example. I'm looking at it right now and I'm going, I thought it would go up more. I think it's a great opportunity. I think it could easily double in 5 days, but I don't need to be in it.
Mhm.
I've already made 10 or 20%. I've had a good gain. I can pull back. I can put 1 or 2% on the line. I can watch it. And if it blows up with 1 or 2%, so what? It doesn't really hurt anything. And so I think it's just a matter of kind of looking at the cow pies and trying to walk around them.
I love it. I love it. It's all about it was the Charlie Munger said the inversion process. Imagine what you want to avoid and focus on that. So some of the companies that have run without me, I'm okay if they run without me if they had a very weak balance sheet and I'm trying to avoid heavy dilution or they were too binary or like you said, look at all the different cow pies, all the different unforced errors and try to avoid those as much as you can. And like Jose was saying about when everybody in on X or in chat or wherever, if we start having some swagger, some cheerleading, posting our charts, one thing I like about our chat, and I always tell people, please, bring me down a notch if you see me cheerleading or going rah rah rah. That's a moment to run for the hills. Like that's when you should unsubscribe and leave the service. Um, because at least in the past, anytime I've been cheerleading or anytime you get high, you're riding high is when you're due for being humbled. So and like I was talking with Wasim, maybe a lot of you guys like Tom and Jose, I appreciate how you share your trades in the real-time trades channel. Not only just the trades themselves, but the thinking, and we comment on each other's trades, what we like, what we don't like about it. And I was telling Wasim if he had maybe shared his Moon Lake Therapeutics trade that he was 20% portfolio weighting into it, I bet you at least a few people in chat would have called him out on that and said like, "Hey, that's too high a weighting," or "Here's what could go wrong," etc. And so that's the idea of sharing our stuff together. Jack, did you see a profound?
I didn't see it. No, I didn't see it. Did they stock? Did the price go down?
It went down like six
It
percent.
went down like six
Um,
percent.
let me put you on mute while I'm
Let me
talking for
put
some
you on mute
reason.
while
That's
I'm
It went down for 6% or something, but it's nice that they raised 40 million or 36 million, and then another four might be coming from institutional investors. This is Profound Medical PROF. And so it's just interesting. That's one you and I were talking about as far as having a weak balance sheet, expecting to get diluted at some point. And just like many setups on Radar, if it goes without me, that's great. There'll always be others, but I haven't been chasing. I don't know, Jack, if you have anything you want to
I
add
don't
on
know,
that.
Jack, if you have anything to add on. I'm still from Missouri on that one. I mean, I was very I'm very enthusiastic on technology, but it's been a long time, and I don't trust the CEO. Just doesn't know how to communicate. So the only thing you can believe is results, data. So I want to see utilization data before I would consider adding. Or your price target. I was good with your price target. One I did like was TLX. I did a startup position in that, just a sort of a small tracking position. I liked that company because I realized afterwards they've really taken what I would call an systems engineering approach to that area of using radioactive agents to treat cancer. So they've really dissected both the delivery side of it, the antibodies, the proteins that are going to be specific, and the radionuclides in a very systematic fashion, comprehensive fashion in terms of the operational problems, which is something no one has done before. So that when they got the CRL letter from FDA, which is almost like a given, FDA, and the stock went down, I started the position, and I'll just track them and add and follow them. Maybe I'll add, maybe I won't. I'll see. But I do like the company. I sort of like the operational structure and quote unquote science or technology, the way they've developed it behind the company. Not that I've been really. I didn't even look at most days I don't even get the chance to look at the market, so I'm not in it. I'm not in the market frequently or trading frequently.
Well, that's a good thing that you're not in the market frequently. I like that. And I like one thing you and I liked about them is when they got that
Then
complete
we got
response
that
letter,
complete response.
they actually,
They actually,
they were honest with
they
the F,
were honest with the,
you can talk about how that was a
you can
green
talk about
flag
how
for
that was
you.
a green flag for you. Oh, the guy calls. I'm just, contrast him to Arun or to Mellow Mouth, and he calls a press conference and he just is very right off the shoulder, very straightforward, very nonplussed, very informational, not the least bit promotional. I like that very much, and that provided me some comfort. And at least you have someone who's not going to try to be half clever and evade the truth. It's like the guy from Profound. He would be fired as a project manager in any project I ever worked on, like for the engineering company, as part of a team. You can't get over by being half clever and not addressing the issues. It just does not work. People are just as smart as you are, and they're going to ask the hard questions. And then once you don't deal with it, you just lose your credibility, and it's gone. It's over. He's just So we'll see what happens with Profound. So I didn't even see that Fold got a buyout offer.
What buyout offer?
Fold, I didn't even see they were taken out.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Before I
Yeah.
forget, yeah, the with um with Telix, what you were saying, that was cool about that call where I've never listened to a call before where management encourages the analysts and those asking questions to keep asking more and more questions. They're like, where did you get this wrong? What can you do better with the FDA? How can we be sure this is going to get approved next year? What else could go wrong?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. And you guys were talking about, when you guys were talking about sizing, it reminded me of the difference between intellect and good judgment. Intellect is a commodity that you can buy. There's lots of really brilliant people all over the place. Good judgment is much harder to find. That's something that's much more difficult, harder to find on a project. Someone who's really smart, who likes to talk, and just monopolizes the conversation. That's like danger. That's like get them away. Because if you're trying to solve a new problem, it's really hard, and having a collaborative effort really mitigates risk. It just mitigates risk for you. So it sort of reminded me of that's one of the benefits of all of you getting together and talking. It really does help because you're trying to trying to protect yourself from what's gonna the unknown. In engineering, we say there's those specifications that you're given. There's the specifications you can derive, and then there's things you can't derive or you don't know about. And it's that last category that sucks.
Well, I'm
So
glad what you said, that the best thing about the chat, sometimes we think it's the idea generation or we're all sharing our ideas together, but at least for me, and I think Wasim and a few others have said, it's when you're riding high that people bring you back
That
down,
people bring you
and
back
when you're
down,
doing
and
poorly,
when
they help
you're doing
you.
poorly, they help you.
Uh, yeah, let me Let me silence that again. Sorry. There we go. Yeah, so it's just nice that, like you said, the whole point of the group is we're here helping each other. Not only the idea generation, but just especially now, as Jose said, we're all riding high right now. It's very easy to make dumb decisions after a hot streak. It's very easy if you want to put your foot on the accelerator instead of on the brake. Until recently, Jose, you were sizing down in biotech, right? You said?
Yes, yes. And actually, I do want to mention something about the
Sure.
community. About 2 months ago, sometime in around October, uh, I was kind of bearish on a name, Immuno, IMNM, and had some put options for October. They were worthless, etc. And I was planning to renew them for November. A fellow poster in Roti to approach me, and with much like orders of magnitude better knowledge than me about the name, and persuaded me that I was wrong. And based on that, I just adjusted my approach and decided to do nothing. And results came in, and the poster was right. It came way better than expected. And that poster helped me out, not only to learn more about the name, but also to not lose money. So that's
I like
something
it.
that I really, really appreciated.
That's really cool. Thanks for the story, man.
And the
Go
other
ahead.
thing was about that. What was the other thing? I don't
Good
remember what it was.
question.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll come out later.
Oh, it feels like somebody's driving a truck right there. Yeah, we'll come back to it. I guess since we're at 4:40, I'll open the floor to anybody having ideas you want to share for 2026, any setups that stick out to you. As you guys know, my biggest goal is I don't want to give my gains back to the market. So a lot of my new setups that I've entered recently, it's where I have still that high upside, but I want as much downside cushion as possible. Talking about a moon lake or something like that, I actually do like those situations where we have a nice binary, as Tom said, with KPTI or something like that, a nice card that could be flipped over and result in a three bagger, five bagger, 10 bagger. But at the same time, I want that downside cushion. So that's kind of a harder to find setup, but that's where I am. I'm just not willing to give my gains back to the market. Any tickers you guys want to discuss into 2026, names you're either holding now or interested in?
Well, I'll go with one you.
When you
Is that you hearing okay? Um, the one that I'm back into big time now is FBio, which caught me by surprise with their revised and resubmitted NDA around the QTEX 101, CUTX 101 that was submitted by their subsidiary Cyprium in September, and it got a manufacturing CRL. And I think me and everybody else in the market kind of figured, okay, it'll be 2 or 3 months before they get the NDA in, and it'll be another 6 months before they get a review. So we can kind of forget about CUTX 101 until midsummer, early summer 26. And out of the blue, FBio announces that they've resubmitted the NDA in like 30 days or 6 weeks at most from the PDUFA date, and then they come back a couple weeks later and say that it was classified something or another by the FDA, and they've got a new PDUFA date of January 14th, which is what's been driving the stock. But I think the other thing, and I'm trying to be cautious about being overly optimistic, but you know, when the FDA classified the response, and you read the fine print that somebody put up, I don't know where I read it, but when they give you a 30-day turnaround, it's because of some very minor issues, typically. I mean, that was kind of my read on it. And the drug has no efficacy issues, it has no safety issues, it's got a priority review attached to it, and it's already on their second rodeo that only had the CRL, and they've come back and said, the CRL's on a 30-day timetable, which to me means minor issues. And I'm kind of looking at that one saying, it's not over till it's over, but it sure looks like it's a high probability. And it's been very good. I mean, the stock's moved 20% just on the quick filing of the NDA.
Yeah. Yeah, Tom, was when something like that happened, it's probably a very minor thing when you're at the company and you scratch your head and saying, "Why the fuck didn't you tell me this ahead of time?" Some little could even be some mechanical thing. Put a lid on this container or something ridiculous. It's unfortunate that you can't work as a team with them in order to reduce the costs of healthcare for everyone. But you can't. That's just not how it happens.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's interesting how some resubmissions take a long time, longer than expected, and others like this can surprise you. That's for sure. So that's FBio. Any other tickers that are standing out to you guys? I have a couple more I can shoot out, but I'll leave it up to the floor first.
Um, I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. You're fine.
Okay. There's a company, its ticker is INTS and
INTS or X?
S as in Sam.
Okay.
Um, and it's a company I've been following while it was private. And it's been public now it went public because it needed more money. It was absolutely out. It's still very tight on money. It's been public for 3 or 4 years. It's 3 years. And you all will have heard this story before. It has a special sauce that is able to inject right into the tumor, and the tumor shrinks. It doesn't go away, but it shrinks, and it also alerts your um, immune system to be on the lookout for this dastardly thing. I know that this has I know that there have been many other special secret sauces because I've been watching it for so long. I'm a little more comfortable with it, and so I've put some money into it, a lot actually for me. I've got a very small portfolio in terms of dollars amount. But I thought I'd just alert people to it. It should have results. I put down there 6 months, most 12,
Okay.
before it's initially going after triple negative breast cancer. It has some results on sarcoma. It has some results on breast cancer too, but it's obviously not approved yet or anything like that. I'm not a scientist. I
Hmm.
generally surround myself with people who will know how to look at these things. And the people who I surround myself with have said, this looks pretty darn interesting. So I pass it along. I probably
Okay.
can't answer any questions.
Thank you for passing it along, Marcy. Just looking at it briefly, my one concern, or not one, but several, but it's a 40-cent stock, correct?
Right.
So it's a 25 million market cap. So just be careful. Like those, there's a lot of, I don't want to say zombie bios, but there's a lot of shady bios in that price range, in that valuation range. And not to say there are some gems there too. There are some diamonds, but there's probably a lot more lumps of coal than there are good ones there. So just be very careful.
I will. Thank you. I know the
Hey,
people, which helps. I
I
mean,
gotcha.
I know they're not crooks. They're not a
Mhm.
shipping company, no offense.
Mhm.
Um, but they could be, and people do funny things when their companies are running out of money. I know that.
Hear you there. And kind of one thing that Tom was saying, he was looking at the personal DCA portfolio I share in chat, which is and I publish an update on it once a quarter, that it's getting to a sizable amount. But one thing I remember that I learned way too late is how you manage if you say your account is smaller, how you manage small dollars is how you will manage larger account when it, as it grows. And so my problem was a lot of times with risk management, certain rules, maybe Wasim, if he's there later, we'll talk about that. But those rules, I would say, oh yeah, when the account's bigger, I'll use those rules. But it's actually, for when it's smaller too. Like I think you said you went overly heavy into this name INTS, was it, Marcy? And for me, one of my rules is if it's clinical stage, the maximum I'm allowed to invest is 5% and of the portfolio. And these were rules that I started, back when I was at zero again. People know after when I started over, I guess, in the biotech bear market around 2022, life and investing from square one again. And so it was humbling to start with a small account again, but at the same time, uh, the second time around, what helped is knowing, okay, I'm not going to make the same mistakes as before. I'm going to implement my rules from the very beginning instead of waiting for the account to get bigger before I do that risk management. So that's just my
Okay.
encouragement is when if for me, I want to be able to sleep well at night. That's number one. And so are you able to sleep at well at night with a position that size? That's a question for each of us.
I think a big element of sleeping well is to ask the question of, how many arrows are in the quiver. If you've got, one widget and it's in one indication, and maybe it's got some other indications, but all the other indications are 6, 12, 18, 24 months behind the lead pony, and it's the only thing that's there, and everybody's counting on that to work. If it blows up, there's nothing to lift it up. I mean, everybody's going to look at it. The flame under the pot's going to go out at least for a while because everybody's going to say there's nothing here for 6 or 10 or 12 months or 2 years. Um, One of the things to me that was interesting is with, just to use it as an example, not to harp on it, but with FBio, I was looking at it going back to last spring, and when I started plowing into it fairly deeply when it was down around a buck 20, they had a decent, an adequate amount of cash. They had just sold off Checkpoint, and they had money coming in from that, and they had royalties that were predefined from Checkpoint. They had equity in Derm, which was releasing Emrosi and on the upswing. And so you had several other pieces that clearly added value to the FBio setup. And so when it went into it went into the PDUFA in the fall at the end of September, it ran up. I mean, it was a good reason to ride the momentum, but it ran from a buck 20 to about 350, which, for me put a lot of points on the board because I was very heavily weighted in it, but I didn't mind being weighted in it because I knew it had these other pieces that if it flamed out on the one that was driving the momentum, it probably wasn't going to, fade and die. And in fact, that's what happened. They got the CRL in September, and I sold out of. I had sold out of most of it going into the PDUFA, but I still had some, and it dropped from 325, 350 down to 250.
Mhm.
And but I mean, I'd been accumulating it from a buck 20, buck 50. So I mean, I gave away gains, but I was still at about a double even on the drop. And there was a safety net. The safety net was all the other stuff that was going on. And so I think that when you're talking about position weightings, you gotta. To me, I always ask the question, how many? I've got about 10 metaphors going here all at once, but how many arrows are in the quiver? And what percentage of the value of the company is associated with whatever binary event or catalyst is about to happen, and if it fails, is there enough substance in the other part of the business to keep it going and prop it up? And if you can get comfortable with that, I'm much more comfortable putting on a heavy position. If you're looking at a moon lake, for example, and you've got all your eggs on, you're rolling the dice on one big event, and you know that if it doesn't fly, you're going to go down 80%. That's a tough one to be big in.
I like what you were saying. That reminds me of one of my pre-trade questions is I ask myself about the multi-year clinical and commercial momentum precisely because I don't want one of those moon lake moments where it just interrupts the entire thesis. You lose 80%. Syndax is a good example, SNDX, where when we entered it was at $9. Now it's what, 20? It was only, let's say, 300 million enterprise value or whatever it was. And you're looking at two drugs being launched, one in chronic GVHD, the other in AML, a smaller segment, KMT2A, and then later on NPM1. And then they're also looking at the frontline setting, which could be multi-billion dollar. And that's kind of what I talked about when I meant a call option is I want a base valuation, which would be just their approved indications where they are now, third line graft versus host, and then the KMT2A and now NPM1 AML. And then you have that pie in the sky, in this case, the first line AML, the first line GVHD in combination with Jakafi. These things that could happen that can make it a much larger gain, a multi-bagger, have that binary upside, but without that binary downside. I just don't want to wake up in the morning to those 50%, 90% gut punches. I'm sure I'll have a couple here and there. You can't avoid them. That's biotech. But I'm trying to avoid as many of those cow pies as Tom called them as possible. Um, any other setups you guys are thinking, or also words of encouragement or caution as we head into 2026? Go for it, Jack.
Yeah, I'm curious if anyone has a thought on the behavior of ANNX, Nexium. It's been starting to move. They have the GBS data that's being considered in the EU for approval. They have the GBS data at FDA where they're searching for their asshole to find it. And they have a readout in geographic atrophy later in the year that people are somewhat optimistic about.
Um, no. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, you were saying before, I remember in real-time trades, you mentioned that one a few times in the mid twos, and now it's five. Uh, so first drug, you think it has a pretty decent shot at getting approved?
I'm not brave enough to say a drug has a good shot. Um, the data is favorable in geographic atrophy. I think for GBS, it should be a no-brainer to approve it since we don't have an approved therapy, and they've done some very nice science. Um, you know, I don't know what the FDA will do. There's no telling, and if anything, perhaps they've gotten more unpredictable than less. I think the EU will approve it. They're adults. They're well reasoned, serious people. So I think they'll get approval for GBS in the EU, certainly before it ever may happen in the US. But if they get approval for geographic atrophy, it's the first time that you have an agent that actually prevents reversal of vision, and I think it has a good chance of becoming standard of care, which means that there is potential, meaningful upside in the stock. So it's got two quivers, to use Tom's one of Tom's analogies. I'm not creative enough to come up with analogies like Tom can.
Okay, so it's got two shots on goal. That'll definitely be one to look into. I like what you said because it reminds me there was a tweet from or a post from Makari from the FDA today, kind of beating his chest about, hey, look at all the good things we've done. We've gotten more drug approvals. We've done this, that, and the other for the regulatory process. But I think that there was a lot of pushback from people actually in the sector who they're saying, you've made this much more volatile. This is now a headwind instead of a tailwind. You're making this so much harder than it needs to be. We think about Unicure, for example, that was like an $80 stock, and then the FDA decided, hey, we talked about you for the last 3 years, come to an agreement on an external control arm, and now that you have the data, yeah, we're not going to accept that anymore. Yes, I can see Jack there.
It's like a perfect example. Is the EU treating them like that? I doubt it. The EU doesn't do that kind of shit. I mean, I had a guy who lived down the street from me in medical devices. He gave up trying. He had three program managers at CDRH for a spine, something to help for spinal problems. He just gave up on them. They kept changing the protocol when it came time to approve it. He just went on the market in Europe, in Germany, and they did well, and they sold the company. Who can put up? Who can deal with that bullshit? So it's
Oh,
like a bad joke.
there we go, unmuted. I hear you there. You can hear me now? Yeah. I hear you there. That's one reason why I sold. Let me remove that. There we go. I sold Replimune REPL for like a 20% gain, was it? Or 30 for similar reason with more of that turnover at the FDA, and I can't tell what's going on. It just becomes a dice roll. I realize I don't know if this is going to get approved or not. And so that's when I sold that and moved the money to a commercial. Uh, because of the commercial setups we had on radar, we're finally coming down to a buy range. Like Jose said, waiting for a valuation that makes sense. But B, it's, like you said, if I need to take on this unnecessary regulatory risk when I have no idea how they're going to react? With Replimune, you would think this time around it gets approved. There's enough pressure from the melanoma patient community, from physicians, et cetera. But it's it's a single product company basically. I mean, I know they have RP2, et cetera, but uh, so I'm trying to remove risk from the portfolio. And right now, that's tough because regulatory should be a tailwind for the sector, something that makes people want to come. But right now, it's probably doing more harm than good in that sense as far as the investing community goes. I don't know if Jose or anybody else has something to add on that.
No, I was
But
in
Yeah,
that one for a long
go
time
ahead,
too.
go ahead, Marcy.
I was just saying on that one for a long time too and gave up.
Mhm. Mhm. No, I hear you have to know when to cut, when to run, opportunity cost. We won't always get it right. I mean, I just sold Fold, and then a few days after, they just got bought out by BioMarin. That's part of it. Um, so yeah, we have some good tailwinds for our approach, especially the sheep, as Tom calls them. I feel like as the sector becomes more and more profitable, as you have more companies doing their first independent commercial launches, that's a really good setup for us, 2026 to 2030. After a multi-year bear market, it would be nice to have a multi-year bull. I think everybody deserves it, but at the same time, as Jose and others have said, it can't go straight up. We've been saying for a while, we feel like it's due for a pullback. It might not happen. We'll see. Any other final
Yeah.
thoughts, guys? Any other?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Jonathan, just a name that I don't have a position yet, but it fits with the sector I'm looking at, always look at, which is neuro. I might be establishing a position at some point in MapLight Therapeutics,
What's the ticker there?
MPLT.
Okay,
MPLT.
MPLT.
Yeah, it focuses on schizophrenia, Alzheimer's, basically an indication that I care about, but also autism, etc. It goes like into M1 and 4 muscarinic agonist type of acids, which is basically what at some point Karuna Therapeutics did. Now what's Cobenfy or Cobenfy, and I might do that because it has a few catalysts for next year, and valuation still seems okay, but there are risks because of the normal readouts.
Mhm.
So yeah, I might be establishing a position next year. I don't have it yet.
Okay, and thanks for the
I
asterisk there. Yeah.
Yeah, but I really like the sector, and I already have another one that also recent IPO, which was LBRX, but this one doesn't have any catalyst for next year. So this one might
LPRX.
be the one. LBRX,
Oh,
LB
LBRX. Got it.
Pharmaceuticals.
Got it.
Yeah, Jack and I may have been talking about maybe a month ago about it. So, but this one might also fit into what I'm looking for. So,
Okay.
so yeah.
Thanks for the heads up. That makes sense. Um, yeah, Susan says in the main chat, don't feel bad about exiting Fold too early. Yeah, I don't. I got a 60% gain for it. Uh, I feel a little bit better right now about Nuvation Bio in UVB after that, double. Now it's basically a triple. I had a 20% portfolio weighting in it. And normally my problem, one of my issues, aside from over trading, is I tend to sell my winners way too quickly. I enter them with a multi-year time frame in mind, like where are the sales going 2026, 27, 28. But then when the stock runs up, I go ahead and sell. So with Nuvation, I tried to strike that middle ground of managing risk. So I sold half the position for like 150 or whatever it was percent gain, and I still own half of it, which is around 10% portfolio weighting. At least for now, I might take more partial profits, but I am trying to be more patient with my winners. Um, there were a few others I think that ran right after I sold them. Wave Therapeutics, WVE, sold that for a slight loss, and then right after it shot up on that readout. But that's part of it. Everything looks clear in hindsight. Um, Wasim's not here. I guess he's back at work. But when I was in Panama, he flew down to meet me there. And you might have seen in chat, he released a trailer from our little interview. I'm still not very comfortable with doing the camera, that type of thing, but he basically rapid fired questions from his end, and a lot of them caught me off guard in a good way. So it's just kind of two guys walking the streets of Panama and talking biotech. So that should come out, I think he said on the 24th on his YouTube channel. That'll be fun. And he was saying he wanted to subject to travel means go interview Tom or Jose and other guys in chat
Oh my God,
and
no. Oh,
he's like, I'm gonna go out to Tom's vineyard and drink some wine and talk biotech with Tom and everybody else. So we'll see how that happens. Jose's like, no way, no way.
I'm happy to talk, but no, it's very hard for me being in videos like this one. If you
I
knew me,
gotcha.
it's
Uh,
super
I,
hard.
I think it's a muscle. The more you do it, the easier you gets. Like part of what he talked about with me was being a digital nomad. And, when I first started traveling, it was really hard for me to get out of my comfort zone and talk to people and stuff like that. And then it's just like a muscle. The more you use it, eventually you get a little bit better at it. And so that's when I got used more to the YouTube videos or if somebody in chat gives me a topic and they're like, hey, you should talk about this or this stock or this mentality or something that happened recently. After a while you realize it's just words, we're just talking. Some of it comes out right and some of it doesn't come out right, and that's fine too. So any final words from anybody into 2026? This is our last meeting for this year. I guess our next meeting will be after JP Morgan, so we'll have some stuff to talk about, so maybe the end of January, give or take. um
throw out one comment. You know, we're talking about fold and wave, and you missed the wave, they might say.
Yes, I do.
But
But
yeah, like that one, huh? I think for all of us, the question would be different, but it would behoove everyone to ask the question, what does success look like? And, how will you know when you were successful with your investment plan? And the answer is different for all of us, I'm sure. But when we sit here talking about wave or fold or we missed this or we got that, we're kind of looking at it at a granular micro level. I mean, it's one data point in 365 days of ups and downs, and all of that taken in the context of the question, what does success look like? I think takes on a different character. Um, if you put 60% gain on the board with fold, it's a major contributor to whatever your image of success looks like. And the fact that you missed out on the buyout or the fact that you didn't catch the wave, those are details along the way. But at the end of the day, the real question is, what does success look like, and did you get there, and how did you get there? But the minutia along the way really doesn't matter. It's all about what the end game looks like.
I'd just like to speak to that for a second,
sure.
and which I love Tom's. Uh, he could teach philosophy. He's a great guy. But I used to do some teaching about the difference between men and women, and where men are more go for the goal, and women are more enjoy the journey. And you can kind of put some content to that and backfill as you wish. To me, success is that I'm enjoying the journey. Uh, I may not win all the time. I certainly don't. But the to me, the research, the decisions about what to buy and sell, about listening to the content from in chat, to me, I enjoy the journey, and maybe that's because of age. Uh, I certainly, when I was younger, it was go for the goal, but maybe I've mellowed. But in some way, I think, just for me, I think that enjoying the journey it makes life a little bit more fun. That's it.
I love it, Stephen. Thank you. It reminds me what we like to say in chat, which is trade to live, not live to trade. And that's a lesson I learned the hard way. And I try to practice like what you said, enjoying the journey now for me means, here I am in Peru for the first time in 4 years since my divorce. And it's been so amazing, like catching up with all my friends and family and all these people. And I work the hours that I want to, not making sure I don't miss out on quality time or fun road trips or whatever else. And I contrast that to 2021 in the biotech bear market. I remember I wrote probably 5 times as much as I normally do. I traded so much more than I normally trade, 5 times as much or whatever. That's why that rule came that I try to trade only 2 to 4 days per month because I realized that less is more, and I was over trading. I was stressing out. I was not enjoying it at all. I almost quit, and I probably would have quit several times if it wasn't for people who chat, who every time I was in the fetal position, they picked me up and dusted me off and told me I'd be okay. Uh, but I just remember, I think the killer for me was at the end of the year. I tallied up all the value add that I'd done with all that extra trading. And I think my performance would have actually been better if I had not made any trades that year versus all that hard work I did for nothing. And at the same time, I was going through a difficult moment personally. And I was like, oh man, I could have taken all of that energy and devoted it to my personal life instead of stressing out about all these different setups and all this different trading. And that was kind of like my light bulb moment, where we talk, 80, 20, 90, 10, where it's just a few of your, all you need is just a few big winners, a few quality stocks can make your year. And then what Wasim was saying, not having your MLTXs, your big binary losers that take away all of your gains. whether that means you still enter those stocks but use a smaller size or you avoid them, however you do it. But it really is that less is more, that you focus on a few quality names instead of, being stuck to a screen the entire time. So like Steven said, that's been a big learning for me the last few years, and this year too, is just, enjoying the journey, trade to live, not live to trade. It should be something that adds to your life, whether it lets you travel or like we do with Mama Liz and chat, helping the kids with cancer in Venezuela or whatever you're passionate about, especially during a bull market, much more so during a bull market too, right?
Stephen, is it
Uh,
as cold in
Go ahead.
Michigan as it looks from your hat and your parka? And is your heat off? What's going on there?
This is Michigan, and we have been in the stinking deep freeze. We've been in the Arctic deep freeze for about the last month, and I just can't get warm. I grew up in Southern California, so why I'm in Michigan, I haven't figured that out, except it's a woman.
Well, hang in. I hope you make it.
Well,
I think Tom was saying he wanted one of these years. We've had two physical ROTY meetups before COVID. One was in the New York area and one was in the California Pacific area, I think. So Tom offered his vineyard, right, for a roadie meetup.
For sure. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Willamette
no,
Valley in the summer is great.
great.
So maybe we can get that in the works at some point. You guys know I'm pretty flexible these days, so it more depends on you all. I'm looking forward to hopefully a couple Fridays from now. I'll meet up with Jose in Lima. So
Yes, you
I'm looking
will. You will.
looking forward to grabbing some coffee or some.
Absolutely.
We
Yes.
said some chifa or which is Chinese
Yeah,
Peruvian
yeah. I
fusion
have a
food.
place. I'll write it to you. Let me first get to Lima.
Okay,
Okay.
I love it. I
I
love
love
it.
it. I love it.
When I first arrived
When
here,
I first
I
arrived here,
there was one second there.
one second
Let me.
there. Let me.
When I first arrived here, there's been all these foods I haven't eaten in like 4 years, and so it's just like that ratatouille moment. You're just crying every time you're eating something. You're just like, this is so good. So Jose, you know what I'm talking about. Like there's a place here near called in Trujillo called Koi, which is Japanese Peruvian fusion food. And so I just had a pulpo al olivo and the acid, the olive sauce and the octopus. And that
Okay, okay.
first bite, I was just
Well,
like, oh my gosh.
I'll figure something out. Yes. Yeah. I'll figure something. Yes.
I'm looking forward to that, Chief. I'm looking forward to that, in the conversation
All right.
above all else, but the food's nice
I'm
too.
so boring, by the way. So just so you know.
Oh, I'm as boring as they come, man. You're good.
Okay.
I see a few other people. Bill, thanks for joining. I see a few Mahmood, Paul, Steve, Marcy. Thanks for the ideas as well. We have a lot of silent lurkers in RO2I, which I appreciate too. I think sometimes it's intimidating to speak for the first time, and then once you get there, you realize it's no big deal. That was Mike from New Zealand comes to mind. Mike, who you guys know, he's been in the last few calls. He couldn't make this one, but he was a longtime lurker. But he always shared his portfolio updates in the weekly recap comments. Former hedge fund, and it's been really nice that he's joined the last few calls. And I feel like especially the introverts, you can tell that you enjoy the community because, we all have questions. None of us gets it right. We don't worry if it comes out the right way or if it doesn't, like Tom and I, when we're discussing the widgets and the stunt companies and the stocks and the drugs in the pipeline and the targets. Jose was just sharing his new ideas for the schizophrenia space and same thing, like
Yeah.
go
Jonathan,
ahead.
if Mike and I can talk, anybody can talk because again, if we can talk, anybody can because I'm even more introverted than he is.
Okay, I love it. I did not know that. Okay.
Oh yes.
I'll say just a few words as a
Please.
newbie. I just
Yes.
came on at the beginning of this month. And Stephen, I spent 42 years in Michigan. I now live in Florida and enjoying it. Although the picture in back of me is in Burgundy. So where are you in Michigan, Stephen?
I got a gal in Kalamazoo.
Okay. I lived in Ann Arbor.
So, Bill, why do you have Burgundy in the background?
It's
Oh,
just
I
a
got
good picture.
Okay. I just didn't know if you had a cellar full of it.
No, no, but I've been there. We had really good French friends that took us around all the places in France. So,
Sounds good.
That'll be fun. Hopefully, I'll get to meet some of our European members next year. My brother, he just moved to Germany, Oberstdorf in the south. So I'll hopefully go visit him next year. And the hard part is getting there. Once you're already there, I've heard it's pretty easy to move around. So
Mhm.
that'll be on the dock too. Well, anyway, thank you guys for a really good year. It's been profitable, but more importantly than profitable, as Steven said, was enjoying the journey. So hopefully we've all been enjoying the journey, enjoying each other, making smart decisions, wise decisions, especially in 2026. I do like that this in the last few calls, it feels like there hasn't been a lot of cheerleading. Like we're enjoying the gains, but we're eyes wide open to risks, that pullbacks can happen. There's regulatory uncertainty, there's other headwinds. It's not all smooth sailing. Um, Wasim was discussing his unforced error in Moon Lake. So I do like that. It feels to me, at least, I don't know you guys, that we're not cheerleading. We're all eyes wide open, that it's been nice, but it doesn't mean it's going to continue.
But
Uh,
and mine with the Janox was an enforced error. Even
okay.
worse because one of my rules is don't invest with bad managers. And I knew that, and I stay there. So yes,
Did you know they were bad managers ahead of time or only
yes,
after? Okay.
yes. I was aware of it because I listened to that person talking, and I didn't like what I heard before the decision. So it was my
Gotcha.
decision. It was the wrong decision, and just reinforcing my rules that I shouldn't do that.
Oh, I love what you said there. It's like when you're trying to invest in something that is doesn't meet your selection criteria, I think of trying to fit like a square peg into a round hole. And I find myself doing that all the time where I'll find something that's very fascinating science-wise, but it's still in what I call the science project phase, where they don't have a clear path to market. And if it's clinical stage for me, if it's a squirrel, as Tom calls, one of my criteria is there needs to be a clear path to market. It's clearly better than standard of care, or if nothing's available, even better. Um, and so if we stray from our selection criteria, that's I think they call it a style drift, and you see that a lot with hedge fund managers, where they'll either be chasing gains or if something's not working, they're trying to keep their investors or whatever it is. But for us, it just means we're chasing what's working, or we don't find any setups that we like anymore, so we start having that feeling of I need to do something, and that feeling of I need to do something means buying stocks that we normally wouldn't buy. So like Jose said with Janix, I definitely identify with that. That resonates with me a lot. um, yeah, I guess we'll close it out, and I appreciate each and every one of you who are participating here, those who are watching. You guys are make the community what it is today. Sometimes I take it for granted, and then I'll wake up on a day like today, and then you realize, like, oh wow, like this definitely is not something I could have seen coming. That we have this cool group here together. We have a couple of new people joining here and there, which is fun to add to conversations and trades and such. So thanks to each of you. Hope it's a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you and yours. New Year coming up. My old man, I used to think it was the cheesiest thing ever when he told us to write goals for the 5 F's in life: family, finance, fitness, friends, and faith. And then I started doing it like 2 years ago, and I was like, oh, maybe he was an office rocker. It's kind of nice, like to set small goals for each area. So hopefully we can stick to them. And yeah, wishing you all the best and looking forward to our call in January after JP Morgan. Cheers, all.
Thanks, Jonathan.
Likewise.
Thanks, Jonathan.
You got it.
Bye.